The Robertson family became a household name through the hit reality television series Duck Dynasty, a show that followed their lives, their business, and their strong Christian faith. But behind the beards, duck calls, and fame, the family story includes moments of real struggle that most viewers never saw. One of the most personal chapters involves Alan Robertson and his wife Lisa Robertson, and a painful period in their marriage that they have only spoken about publicly in recent years. Alan Robertson is known as the beardless brother of the Robertson family. Unlike his brothers, who were heavily featured in the original run of Duck Dynasty, Alan lived a slightly different path for much of his early adult life. He spent years in ministry as a preacher before later becoming more involved in the family business and the public spotlight. Lisa Robertson, his wife, has also lived much of her life outside of the spotlight, even though she is part of one of the most recognizable families in American reality television. Their marriage, like many long-term relationships, went through difficult seasons. One of the most painful and defining moments came when Lisa had an extramarital affair. This revelation deeply damaged the trust in their relationship and nearly destroyed their marriage. It was a turning point that forced both of them to confront painful truths, not just about what happened, but about the state of their relationship at the time. The affair was not something that was publicly known during the height of Duck Dynasty's popularity. At that time, the Robertson family was often portrayed as a tight-knit, faith-driven group with strong values and a united family identity. However, behind the public image, Alan and Lisa were dealing with private struggles that were far more complicated and emotionally difficult than what appeared on television. When the affair eventually came to light within their marriage, it created a deep rupture. Trust was broken, emotions were raw, and the future of their relationship was uncertain. According to their later reflections, this was not just a moment of conflict, but a period of intense emotional pain, confusion, and reevaluation of everything they thought their marriage was built on. In many cases, relationships do not survive something like this. But Alan and Lisa chose a different path. Instead of immediately walking away from each other, they began a long and difficult process of confronting what had happened and deciding whether rebuilding was possible. That process was not quick or easy. It required honesty, accountability, and a willingness from both sides to face uncomfortable truths. Faith played a central role in how they approached healing. As a family deeply rooted in Christian beliefs, forgiveness and reconciliation were key themes in how they processed the situation. Alan, who is also a preacher, leaned heavily on his faith as he worked through feelings of betrayal and hurt. Lisa, on the other hand, had to confront her own choices and the consequences they had on her marriage and family life. Over time, they began the slow process of rebuilding trust. This did not happen overnight. Rebuilding after infidelity is often described as one of the most difficult challenges a couple can face, because trust is not something that returns easily once it has been broken. It requires consistent effort, transparency, and emotional vulnerability over a long period of time. What makes their story notable today is not just what happened in the past, but the fact that they remain together and are now willing to speak about it publicly. In recent discussions and media coverage, including renewed attention in 2026, Alan and Lisa have reflected on that chapter of their lives as part of their broader testimony of struggle, forgiveness, and recovery. Their story is often framed in connection with Duck Dynasty, even though the events themselves were not part of the show. Fans of the series are familiar with the Robertson family's public image: humorous, faith-driven, and closely bonded. Learning about private struggles like this adds a very different layer to how audiences understand the people behind the show. It also highlights something important about reality television in general. What viewers see on screen is often only a small portion of what is actually happening in people's lives. Even families who appear strong, united, and grounded can be facing serious personal challenges away from the cameras.